You just got promoted, and instead of celebrating, you're panicking. Because deep down, you think they made a mistake. You think any day now, someone's going to walk in and realize you have no idea what you're doing. And the worst part, you actually believe it. This isn't just nerves. This is you sitting in meetings, nodding along, terrified someone will ask you a question you can't answer. This is you working twice as hard as everyone else just to feel half as good. This is you checking your email at midnight because if you stop, they might notice you're not actually qualified to be here. You feel like a fraud. And no matter how many times people tell you you're doing great, you don't believe them because you're convinced you've just gotten really good at faking it. Here's what this actually looks like in your day-to-day life. You finish a project that took you weeks. Your boss says it's excellent. And instead of feeling proud, your first thought is, they're just being nice, or I got lucky this time. You immediately start thinking about all the ways it could have been better, all the things you didn't know, all the mistakes you almost made that nobody caught. Or maybe you're in a meeting and someone asks for your opinion. You have thoughts. You have ideas, but you stay quiet. Because what if your idea is stupid? What if everyone realizes you don't actually know what you're talking about? So you wait for someone smarter to speak first, and then you just agree with them, even when you had the same idea 5 minutes ago. And then there's the comparison thing. You look at your coworkers, and they seem so confident, so sure of themselves. They speak up in meetings. They take on new projects without freaking out. Meanwhile, you're Googling basic things in private browser windows because you don't want anyone to know. You don't already know this stuff. You feel like everyone else got a manual that you somehow missed. The really messed up part, the better you do, the worse it gets. You get a raise. You get recognition. You get more responsibility. And instead of thinking, I earned this, you think I'm in over my head now? Because every achievement just raises the stakes. Every success is just more pressure to keep up the act, more chances to be exposed. You'd rather work yourself to exhaustion than ask for help. Because asking for help means admitting you don't know something. And if you admit you don't know something, they'll realize you've been pretending this whole time. So you stay late. You redo things 3 times. You teach yourself everything the hard way, alone, while everyone else has already left for the day. And here's the thing that really hurts. You watch people who are less qualified than you, people who know less than you, walk around with total confidence. They don't question themselves. They don't overthink. They just do things. And you're sitting there thinking, how do they not see that they're not ready for this? But when it comes to yourself, you can't see what everyone else sees. You can't see that you actually know what you're doing. It feels like you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, we need to talk. Like all your achievements are built on sand, and one wrong move will make everything collapse. And that feeling, that never goes away. You just get better at hiding it. So why does this happen? Why do capable, intelligent, successful people feel like frauds? It usually starts way before your first job. Think about your childhood. Maybe you were the smart kid, the one who got good grades without trying too hard. And people praised you for being smart, not for working hard. So you learned that your worth came from being naturally good at things, which means if something doesn't come naturally, if you have to struggle or learn or ask for help, it feels like proof that you're not actually smart. You're just good at faking it. Or maybe it was the opposite. Maybe you grew up in an environment where nothing you did was ever quite good enough, where praise was rare and criticism was constant. So even now, when you succeed, some part of you is still waiting for someone to point out everything you did wrong, because that's what you learned. Success looks like temporary, conditional, never fully earned. Psychologists call this imposter syndrome, and here's what they found. It's not actually about your skills or your qualifications. It's about the gap between how you see yourself and how others see you. You have access to all your doubts, all your uncertainties, all the moments you didn't know what to do. But other people, they only see the finished product. They see someone who shows up, does the work, solves problems. They don't see your internal panic. So when they treat you like you're competent, it feels fake to you. Because you know the truth, right? Except here's the thing. Everyone has those doubts. Everyone has those moments of not knowing. Your coworker who seems so confident, they're also Googling stuff. They're also unsure sometimes. The difference is they've learned to treat uncertainty as normal. You've learned to treat it as evidence that you don't belong. And this is where your brain starts working against you. There's something called confirmation bias. Basically, you look for evidence that confirms what you already believe. So if you believe you're a fraud, you notice every mistake, every gap in your knowledge. Every time you didn't know something, and you ignore everything else. You ignore the problems you solved, the decisions you made that worked out, the times you actually did know what you were doing. Your brain filters all of that out because it doesn't match your story about yourself. Studies show that high achievers actually experience imposter syndrome more than average performers, because the higher you climb, the more you're surrounded by other talented people. And when you're surrounded by experts, it's easy to focus on what you don't know instead of what you do. You're comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. You know all your struggles. You only see their successes. Here's another piece of the puzzle. Our culture worships natural talent. We love stories about prodigies, about people who were just born good at something. We don't talk as much about the years of practice, the failures, the learning process. So when you have to learn something, when you have to work hard at something, it feels like you're doing it wrong. Like if you were really supposed to be here, it would be easier. But that's not how expertise works. Nobody is born knowing how to do their job. Everybody had to learn. Everybody had moments where they felt lost. The difference is, some people interpret those moments as I'm learning and growing, and others interpret them as I'm a fraud who's about to be discovered. And then there's the perfectionism trap. You set impossibly high standards for yourself, standards you'd never hold anyone else to. And when you don't meet those standards, because they're impossible, you use that as proof that you're not good enough. You don't compare yourself to realistic expectations. You compare yourself to some imaginary perfect version of yourself that doesn't exist. And obviously, you fall short. Everyone would. Here's the moment where things start to shift. The fraud feeling, it's not a bug. It's actually a sign that you care, that you have standards, that you're aware enough to know there's more to learn. People who truly don't know what they're doing, they usually don't worry about it. They have what psychologists call the Dunning-Kruger effect. They overestimate their abilities because they don't know enough to know what they don't know. But you know enough to see the complexity. You know enough to recognize how much there is to learn. And your brain interprets that as, I don't know enough, instead of, I'm engaged in continuous learning like every expert does. Think about it this way. The fact that you question yourself means you're paying attention. The fact that you see gaps in your knowledge means you're knowledgeable enough to recognize what gaps look like. The fact that you want to do better means you care about quality. These aren't fraud characteristics. These are expert characteristics. The shift happens when you realize that feeling uncertain doesn't mean you're unqualified. It means you're human. It means you're in a role that challenges you. And being challenged is exactly where growth happens. The goal isn't to feel confident all the time. The goal is to act despite the uncertainty, because that's what everyone else is doing too. They just don't tell you about it. So what do you actually do about this? How do you stop feeling like a fraud? First, start tracking your wins, not just the big ones, the small ones. Every problem you solved, every question you answered, every decision you made that worked out. Write them down, because your brain won't do this automatically. Your brain is busy cataloging your mistakes. So you have to manually create a record of evidence that contradicts the fraud story. When you're feeling like you don't know what you're doing, you can look at this list and see proof that you do. Actually, know things. Second, change how you talk to yourself about learning. When you don't know something, instead of thinking, I should already know this, try, I'm learning this now. That small shift matters. One makes you feel behind. The other makes you feel like you're exactly where you should be, in the process of growing. And here's why this works from a psychology standpoint. Your self-talk literally shapes your beliefs. When you constantly tell yourself you're faking it, you reinforce that belief. When you tell yourself you're learning, you reinforce that growth is normal and expected. Third, talk about it. Find one person you trust and tell them you sometimes feel like you don't know what you're doing. Chances are, they'll tell you they feel the same way. And suddenly you'll realize this isn't a you problem. This is a human problem. The secrecy is what makes it worse. When you think you're the only one, it feels like evidence that you're uniquely unqualified. When you realize everyone feels this way, it becomes normal. And normal things don't mean you're a fraud. They mean you're experiencing what everyone experiences. Fourth, separate feelings from facts. You feel like a fraud. That's a feeling. The fact is, someone hired you. Someone promoted you. Someone trusts you with responsibility. Those are facts. Feelings are real, but they're not always true. You can feel uncertain and still be qualified. You can feel scared and still be competent. The feeling doesn't cancel out the reality. And finally, redefine what success looks like. Stop measuring yourself against perfection. Start measuring yourself against progress. Did you know more this month than last month? Did you handle something better than you would have 6 months ago? That's success. Not knowing everything, not being perfect, just being a little bit better than you were before. The fraud feeling might not completely go away, and that's okay. Because now you know it doesn't mean what you thought it meant. It doesn't mean you don't belong. It means you're doing something that matters enough to care about. So feel it, acknowledge it, and do the work anyway. If this helped, there's more where this came from.